One Twitter user reports live, 4 lessons for parents in a connected world, the ideal in-car iPhone experience, and how SpaceX plans to take over. Dads on Tech Episode 9 begins now.
How you doing, everybody? This is Ramon B. Nunez Jr., Dads on Tech, episode number 9. Today's top story is a Twitter user uses Twitter to live stream or live tweet Osama Bin Laden. With me, I have Zev Green of BreakOver.tv, and I have Dan Anderson, who is home today, and he is just a devoted daddy blogger. What's going on, guys?
Hey, good to chat with you.
Good to see you guys.
Likewise, man. I know it's been a little bit, but we've been on vacation, Passover, or being sick, or it was something. It's always something. It's the human condition.
Everything.
I guess, of all things. But one of the things, and this story is not necessarily a Dads on Tech story or even a dad story, right? But this is more along the lines of how Twitter was used again to report the news. This tech guy in Pakistan started tweeting, "Hey, things are going on over here. Hey, we see helicopters. Hey, we hear explosions. Oh my God, Osama's dead." And this was done hours before the mainstream news media even heard about it. I mean, I really think this is incredible, and I think Zev and I have constantly talked about this and repeated this over and over again, that we really think Twitter's true purpose in life is to be an outlet, a news outlet. That is really their true purpose in life, and I know that BizStone and company kind of fight that. They don't want to be considered that at all, and I really think they're missing the boat on something like this. What do you think, Zev?
Well, it's a really amazing. I've been kind of keeping track of him all day, and his Twitter numbers are just going through the roof. It's ridiculous. Before the show, when I was kind of reading a couple things and getting dinner and everything, I basically went downstairs, did some stuff, came back up, and it went from something like 40,000 to 70,000, and I was just amazed by it. But it's really crazy how not only was just the fact that he was live blogging an event, and unbeknownst to him, he was seeing literally history unfold before him, and a decade of international foreign policy, military, intelligence. I mean, there's so much to this story that was unfolding in front of him, and he was just a tech guy hanging out in another country in a small little village, and not terribly small, but a small village in the middle of Pakistan.
What's funny though is that he said that I think in one of his last tweets said, "Listen, I moved to this specific town because I heard it was safe and quiet," and then this goes down. I mean, the guy started tweeting, I guess, about 1:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
And I guess he was woken up, or he was just up late at night because he's a tech. He was just up late at night, and he heard helicopters, and then helicopters crashing, and then things exploding, and guns firing, and people started, replying to his tweets. And I really think that this is I'm really, really excited about this. I think this is a fantastic use of Twitter, a fantastic use of social media, and just a great use of the entire ecosystem. Dan, give me your thoughts on this. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with it that it's becoming a great way to share news, and what I like is that you're getting a lot of different opinions, that you're no longer stuck just hearing the news anchor's opinion on TV, but you're self-selecting by whom you're following, but you get a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different takes, and all in real time. It's great, and I think of other monumental events. I mean, think of when JFK was shot, that what if Twitter was around then, and all the different perspectives you would have gotten. And I think of over the years how long it took even just to get the the video of the people that were there doing their handheld videos of it, and it took that long to kind of get it and compile it. Where here we have Twitter, and some guy on the other side of the world, we find out his thoughts instantly, and then how quickly even that spread around the community, where people are saying, "Hey, check out this guy. He inadvertently live tweeted the event." It really only took moments for that to spread too. So just pretty amazing how quickly you can communicate.
It was funny because
the fact that he used and I lost the story here, but he used a specific hashtag, right? Sorry about that. I lost the story.
I found it. What
yes,
was
he used, or somebody used a hashtag, right? Was it Pakistan they used?
Well, I think they were using the town name.
That was pretty good too.
But I think what was really interesting about it that I found was just that that initially it was more of an annoyance, right? It was like, what are these helicopters doing? This can't be good.
His comment about the fly swatter thing, it really was more like a household fly annoyance to him.
He just thought they were just helicopters, and I even think at one time he thought they might have been military helicopters, like Pakistan military helicopters. And one person tweeted back to him and said they're not our helicopters. We don't know who they are, but they're here and they're causing some kind of commotion.
So has Twitter become an early radar warning detection system for the military?
It might be. It just or just a very easy and convenient way to get news out, right? Because this guy's a tech, so we're assuming he's using a smartphone, some kind of smartphone, right? But for all we know, he could be using a featured phone and just using SMS to actually tweet out the messages,
right? Because
he said a lot of people in his town use Facebook, which is one reason why nobody was really saying anything through Facebook. I guess it's 1 o'clock in the morning first and foremost, and second of all, I don't know how the client is for Facebook on a feature phone, but it may not be feature rich,
right?
And SMS just being available on every phone across the board, he very easily just started tweeting out messages. And then again, I don't know what phone he was using because that wasn't made clear if it was a smartphone or a feature phone. But for the simple fact that, again, I'm like beyond elated here. It's like, he used Twitter to break the story,
right,
of the
year,
other
thing,
which he had no idea what he was doing.
In his Twitter stream, he kept commenting about how they lost power in that area, and I would think that just being able to communicate over a phone pretty easily, that would be a difference for him. Where if you can't log into, using your laptop and can't get electricity, get onto a Wi-Fi connection, as long as you get a cell connection on your phone, you're able to stay up to date on Twitter.
Absolutely correct. That's another reason too. Absolutely, yeah.
And one terrible.
I really think that this is one possible future, a very strong possibility for Twitter to pursue this avenue or pursue this channel, is for them to actually go and become like a legitimate media outlet. And I think myself or Zev mentioned this, maybe like 6-8 months ago, that perhaps Twitter should have some kind of vetted process where certain people are considered quote unquote reporters or citizen reporters, and they have like this fast track channel to Twitter where they can actually tweet things and they can be verified quickly and then post it up on a quote unquote special site, a special news site that's just strictly for Twitter. I think that's completely possible, but again, from what I've heard Biz Stone talking about, he just doesn't want to go that route. He's happy where Twitter is right now.
So this is kind of my question, right? For Twitter, speaking of this type of scenario, do you think that to some degree that there should be an Amber Alert type system through Twitter that would blast out in designated areas of people who have either checked in or geolocated or tweeted in recently within a certain location an Amber Alert message? Do you think people would be agreeable to that, or do you think that that's something outside of Twitter's?
No, absolutely. I think people would be absolutely agreeable to that. But the problem is that Twitter doesn't want to go that route. So there are applications that are actually doing this right now. They're actually using the open data that's available by our government, for example, whether it be federal, local, state, whatever it might be. But New York City is one of those places where they have this open data framework or architecture. And I forget I think her last name is Levine or Levine. I think it's Levine. And she's like the new CTO or chief social media officer for New York City. It's the first one ever. And Bloomberg just appointed her a couple months ago. And one of the things that she says that, New York City has this just massive amounts of data available, and all this data sits in a database, and it's public and it's freely available. So there are people across the board or companies across the board that are actually tapping into this data, pulling it out, and doing various things with it. And one of those things that could be some kind of Amber Alert system that they would develop. One application that I've been using for a little bit now, and give me 1 second to pull it up, and I'll give you the name of it right now, is Rotify. Rotify is a really cool application. You use it to actually tell the Rotify community about delays in the train system, delays in the bus system, if there's traffic on the LIE or the BQE, and it's all updated in real time, and people can actually follow your stream. And if there's a problem on the BQE, like a car accident, for example, you can actually put that into Rotify, and people get notified and actually, go around that traffic, or go around the area to go somewhere else. But again, this information is being driven or being pulled from New York City. I'm assuming from New York City DOT. So it's just just an example of what can be done with a system like that, especially when you're talking about having some kind of Amber Alert system. And there would need to be a company that actually tap into that data and actually pull it out and actually let folks know. And there is a system already set up like that with New York City. You don't get a tweet,
Right.
you get a
text message, yeah.
Right now, and I don't remember the name of the actual system that does that.
But I would think that using something like a, I don't know, something like a Foursquare, a Gowalla, a Twitter.
Yeah, they do use Foursquare. I'm sorry, they do use Foursquare. That is their OAuth method of logging in. So whenever you check into a restaurant, if the restaurant is under investigation by the FDA or about to be shut down by the FDA, that information will actually get texted or through SMS back to you, letting you know that this restaurant is under investigation or whatever the case might be.
Yeah. Be careful. You may get sick and die. Right?
Yeah, that wasn't one, by the way. That was
say hi to the rats and roaches behind the counter.
Hey. Yeah, behind the counter. Yeah, at McDonald's.
I was going to say with Twitter, I think it has a lot of potential as a news outlet. I think they'd have a lot of ways to go before they can get there. And just using like last night's news as an example, yeah, I'm watching this. I learned of that the president was going to address the nation based on watching Twitter. I was watching for it and looking at updates and how I got all the the rumors and kind of confirmation all off Twitter before anything ever took place on TV. And I thought, okay, here's a great example. Let me show my wife why I like Twitter, and maybe this will convince her to use it. I mean, it took me a while to get her on Facebook. So I go over and I'm like, let me show you on Twitter. And I pull it up. And I'm like, see here where it shows kind of what the trending topics are. And sure enough, it's Chloe and Lamar up there on the top. I'm like, okay, this is this huge news for our nation, and yet Chloe and Lamar is trending. What's going on?
They're very important.
Apparently. So it was just one of those things where they need to have a better system of really, I think, the trends need to respond quicker or maybe be better moderated. And I think also it's getting muddied by the ads, that the way they're currently doing. You can buy the trending topics. I don't know what the right way is for them to monetize what they're doing, but it's not a reliable way for me to see what people are talking about in real time.
It's almost like you want to have classifications for tweets, like, news, technology, science, entertainment, advertising, people who are looking to make money. But I agree with you. I think that that's how I learned. I literally had my iPad in my lap, and I was doing something. I don't remember what I was doing, and I got both Twitter updates as well as news app updates, push notifications for top news and breaking news. So it was very interesting that I had television on in the background, but I wasn't even, nothing broke through normal television. I got everything through social media. So I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah, but didn't it take hours though before the traditional outlets started actually getting news coming in?
Well, right, because the main reason I think is because rumors and reports were coming in that were unverified. So that's a primary vehicle for Twitter, right? Twitter is just raw data. There's nothing, for good or for bad, there's nothing that's kind of being substantiated or guaranteed that it's 100% true. So you'll get bits and pieces completely raw and unverified on Twitter far before, generally speaking, far before you'll see the traditional news outlets. Because if the traditional news outlets break too quickly, which a lot of them, they really don't verify stuff anymore anyway, but if they break it too quickly, they could definitely have problems in the future
Right,
getting breaking
hurt the
news.
credibility. I completely understand.
100%.
I mean, maybe that's one reason why Biz and company don't want to go the route of being a online news outlet.
Right.
Because now they're entering an entirely different realm of credibility. Right. They can tarnish their brand big time if they pursue that route. But I don't know. I'm not saying that they themselves should be the outlet, but perhaps provide a legitimate channel for journalists, for citizen journalists, or for anybody who wants to actually play in the news game, so to speak. And maybe they should, like you said, maybe some kind of categorization. I call it a channel, just some kind of platform that is legitimized by somebody. Who is that somebody? I have no idea. It might be Twitter. It might be CNN. I have no idea. But I think it would be a good move for them, and I don't think it's something they have to manage. Maybe that's another reason why Biz is so standoffish, because in his mind, thinking we have to manage this thing. No way. We don't want to do that. And if that's the case, then yeah, that might be a deterrent for Twitter.
Right.
But I don't think they should move away from it. I mean, I really think that they should kind of make it like Dan said, just make it easier. I mean, make it easier for me to find, make it easier for me to get that information, make it easier for me to monitor that channel, as opposed to sitting back and saying, okay, what is the hashtag? Who's tweeting about this? Yeah. Or listening to whatever's trending. Because whatever's trending doesn't necessarily mean what's really what you want to watch or what you want to read about.
Like my favorite site right now is techmeme.com for news, just breaking news for tech. And what I like about it is that it kind of aggregates all the key articles by topic. Well, you'll say, here's the lead one, what's going on, and then kind of by top discussion underneath. And I thought, if Twitter could do something like that, saying, here's kind of where it all started. Like, I was thinking people even put it together. Here's the timeline of how the news kind of broke about Osama Bin Laden, and just here's the thing. If they actually had that off to the side, that would be something worth looking at. Here are the top tweets, but aggregate them by the topic, not just by who got retweeted the most. I would love to see something like that.
That would be pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. What's pretty awesome too? The fact that parents are getting lessons on how to not be connected to the connected world all the time. We're all dads, and I don't know about you guys, but I fall prey to this all the time. I'm connected at work, I'm connected on the ferry, I'm connected while I'm walking to Starbucks, I'm connected while I'm home, I'm connected right before I go to sleep, and even when I'm sleeping, I'll hear my iPhone, beep or buzz when I get an email or some kind of response to one of my tweets. So I'm always on, and for me it's natural. It's just like this is my life, so I accept it to what it is. But my son is 2 years old, so I don't think he really understands that daddy's not paying him any attention because he's tweeting something or he's reading a story or he's getting ready for a podcast. But as they get older, obviously, they will start noticing that and paying attention to that.
For sure.
And the last thing I want is to make my son feel that he is less important to me because I am tweeting or reading an email or reading an article or preparing for my podcast. And I really, and I agree with the article. I think that parents there should be a block of time where, the cell phone just goes into the drawer, the computer goes off, and maybe the family just sits down and either plays a board game, watches a movie, or just sits down for dinner, or just talks. I really think it's truly important. Dan, what do you think about that?
I think it's a good idea. We've had, I think, over the years, things like that at different times, right? Turn off the TV and, have time with the family, or depending on whatever the medium is we're trying to block out. But I mean, gosh, I have to admit it. If I come home and I got work on my mind, and for me, it's like, well, how do I get my laptop going and I can finish getting some work done before it's too late? And that's a shield, basically, that wall of the laptop in front of me between getting connected with my family. So I agree, there should be a greater emphasis of parents to, whether it's blocking out, compartmentalizing your time or whatever you got to do, but make sure you have that time that you're spending quality time with your family and not just
Sure.
letting all the technology and that access to it interrupt your day.
Yeah, I agree. Really agree.
Definitely.
Seth?
Yeah. So Soren Gordheimer has a piece here which is really great, which we're talking about, and they bring he brings several points. So the first point is sharing the game, right? So if often playing games isn't just about the one-on-one, but it's the fact that after you play the one-on-one game with them, now you have more to talk about. You can relate with them. You can discuss things more than just during that one time. So it's kind of a play once, pay often strategy. So that's number one. So you can utilize technology, but utilize it appropriately so that you can then have other things to do and talk about. I mean, I don't have a shortage of things to talk to my son about, but maybe some people would. But definitely having that social interaction, utilizing technology appropriately in that respect is really, really a big deal when coming to parenting. Second one, schedule uninterrupted time. So, of course, like we were talking about, that you're trying to get someone flamed you on Twitter, and you're aggravated, or you're trying to respond to somebody in Facebook that said something disparaging about something. So you got to get it out, and they want to talk to you about their day, and they're like, well, just give me a second, I want to get this guy, and then it's a back and forth. So there's all kinds of distractions that fortunately, and most of the times when it comes to family, unfortunately, it takes time away from the family. So focus on them. Unplug before bed. This is a big deal, and we can talk about this also. That there was a Harvard study done that said that the type of light emitted by devices like laptops and televisions, they give off a false sense of daytime to the human body. So we tend to not fall asleep.
Isn't that really amazing, though? I mean, I know this I didn't know this for a fact until I started investigating my own sleeping disorder.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned before on the show, I have sleep apnea. And it's amazing to me how the human body is programmed that the minute it feels light, whether it be sunlight or whatever other light we're talking about here, right? That it's a signal to the body to, okay, now it's time to wake up, so you need to get up. And it's very interesting that sitting in front of a monitor, whether it be a computer monitor, or your laptop, your smartphone, your feature phone, how that can trick your brain into believing that it must be up, so it's not going to be producing. What's that drug, Zeb? Is it melatonin your body releases when it's time to go to sleep?
Yep.
And so it prevents that from being released, and so you stay up longer, and that's one of the reasons why you wake up in the morning and your kids go, "Dad, why are you so tired?"
Exactly.
So to me that was pretty amazing research. It's pretty
That's
cool.
it. I'll have to give that a try. I heard about it and I forgot about it, but I'm going to give that a try this week and see what happens if I do. So what is it? You ever just try not to use your computer or something about an hour before you go to bed?
They said about an hour before you go to bed. They said the most appropriate thing would be to read or to play some kind of board game, something like that.
Just stay away from that particular kind of light, and it should allow you to sleep a little better.
And really,
our pediatrician told us that we were having a hard time initially getting our son to go to bed at a decent time. She said, "Well, what's in the bedroom right now?" And I said, "Well, it's TV, and we watch TV until we fall asleep." And she goes, "Okay, so an adult's brain and a child's brain are two different mechanisms, right? A child, when they're first born and up until I think they're 5 years old, all their brain is doing is just consuming information at an incredible rate. And by you having a TV on, that just forces his brain to continuously consume more and more information. So, Ray being a nut job, I ripped the TV out of the wall in her bedroom and put it down in our living room. And let me tell you, it was like night and day, literally night and day. The minute the TV came out, we would go to the dark bedroom, and lo and behold, just go to sleep.
Yeah,
so,
pretty much.
There is some credibility to this study or behind that science.
And I'm bad at that because I fall asleep with the television on. It's like I have that as background music, and that's totally bad on me, and that's why I go to bed at like 2:00 every night. But
good for you.
yeah, exactly. but no. So and then the fourth one, which which is really an amazing point in this piece, was start a shared technology project. So I started one with my son Ari. We're doing the kids version of Dads on Tech, Kids on Tech,
Oh,
and so that was the beginning of that. We've already started with the Green Lantern one, and now Disney was great enough to send a few Lego sets. So we're going to review that, and Ari's going to talk about that in his netcast.
cool.
So yeah, that'll be pretty cool. But other than that, just how to utilize utilize technology a little bit differently than the other point where you're doing something interactively together, but have something that they're learning as well, that they're doing something that they're going to be able to utilize, math and science and troubleshooting. And I was really happy with this piece. I'm glad that that it was chosen for this week. But yeah,
Yeah, I thought it was a
those good
great piece
points.
because again, we're just so connected nowadays, and we don't do it maliciously. We don't do it because we're selfish or whatever the case might be. We're just doing it because we're just so entrenched in what we so strongly love, which is social media or technology in general. So as you're on your BlackBerry, your smartphone, as you're on your laptop, when you're physically on the phone speaking to somebody, or you're reading news, or you're watching tech news, or whatever you're doing, you take away time from your family. And again, we're not doing it we're not doing it because we're being malicious. We're just doing it because it just becomes second nature. It's become a habit, and this is what we do for a living, and we continue to do it even while we get home. And like I said, again, I don't know if my son at 2 years old understands that daddy's not ignoring him. He's just, focusing on a piece or writing something or reading something or whatever I'm doing at the moment in time. But when my kids get to Zeb's age, I don't want them to ever feel that, that dad doesn't love them because, I'm on my cell phone or on the computer or doing a podcast. And I love these 4 suggestions. I love the last one, and unfortunately, at 2 years old, my son, we really can't do many tech projects. But as he gets older, though, I would love to most definitely sit down with him and do some kind of tech project. Put one of those Lego robots together, which you have to program and whatnot. That'd be kind of cool. Just look at the stars through a telescope, which would be rather cool. Even play a video game, So.
Which we could go over the app. The apps to do that. We should cover that one day.
We should. We definitely should. There are over 300,000 apps on the Apple Store, so we're good to go. Talking about apps and integrating what guys also like is cars. So Pioneer coming out with this in-car AppRadio looking thing, and I chose the story because it sounded kind of cool. They're saying, at least Pioneer's saying, that the application is similar experience to iOS, and all you need to do is grab your iPhone, plug it into this setup over here, and then voila, you can access all your applications and treat it as if it was an iPhone. So I thought it was a pretty good move on Pioneer's part, making it look and feel like one of the most popular interfaces on the planet, right? The iPhone or iOS. And it's a 6.1-inch screen, it's capacitive touch screen, and it looks pretty cool. What I really like about it here is that the fact that you can actually connect to Pandora, iHeartRadio, right through your iPhone. So that's pretty cool. I really appreciate that. I know, Dan. What do you think? You're a big car guy. You like all this tech stuff in the cars?
I like the Pandora connection. I think that's good. I think from the UI design, I think it makes a lot of sense to mirror something that you're already familiar with. I hope they don't get sued, but because
me too.
Happen to people. But I think it's the right way to go. I mean, why not go with something you're already familiar with? And it just seemed like a really good idea. And I think you had commented, this is like your ideal car radio, and exactly what I was thinking too. That to have this kind of stuff, the things I already go for, all in a nice little easy display to use in your car, that'd be perfect. The big buttons, I mean, that's easy to use while you're driving.
Let me ask you a question though. Like, you don't think this is somewhat a distraction? I mean, I love, and Zev and I have reviewed this a bunch of times now. The My 4 technology, absolutely love it because it not only is it a tactile driven, but it's also voice driven. And I think if you're driving a car, having the ability to speak your commands is much easier to be able to reach over and hit some of these options where you're taking your eyes off the road for a quick minute or two. So
I
I
think
mean, what do
the
you think
voice
about that?
piece. I think the voice piece is something that people are probably still getting used to because it's a newer technology. I think something like this, people might be easier to use because they're just used to hitting a knob on the radio and doing that. But I agree with you. You know what Ford's got going on with the voice recognition. I think that's the way to go.
Mm,
And by way of example, when I first got an Android phone, I was very skeptical when I saw that it had this recognition thing where I could talk into it and it would just transcribe it or whatever. And I've had the thing for about a year now, and that's the only way that I really even send text messages and do a lot of stuff now. Instead of typing it
right.
in, I just talk to it, and it's learned how to use my voice. So I think the more people use the voice tech, the more they'll want to use it. You get comfortable with it. My own dad, I mean, I got him a phone that he was kind of used to. It was just funny to me where he was saying, "This phone's the greatest thing. I don't have to type it in. I can just talk to it." And that's what I'm like,
Awesome.
okay, I see where this is going. So, anyways, with what you're saying, I think that voice feature would be the big thing to have. And
Mm,
Pioneer's piece might be good for today, but they really need to have that voice integration if they want to be relevant
yeah,
in the years to
I
come.
completely agree.
Yeah, now,
What do you think, Zev?
if I remember correctly, no, I like it. I really do. I think it's a good idea. I think, first of all, big buttons are always better than intricate interfaces. And a lot of
Sure.
like I have a town and country, Cressor Town and Country, and the radio, it's all flat panel, digital. It's got all kinds of menus and everything. It's very hard while you're driving to navigate it. Unless there are certain places where you know what to do, and there are certain buttons that are on your wheel that'll help you direct you through preset settings. But if you want to go through XM or Sirius Radio, if you want to change the video for the kids in the back because they're complaining they want to watch a DVD rather than listen to AM or whatever, it's very difficult because you have to. All the buttons look exactly the same. That was my big issue with the Chevy Volt. All the buttons look practically the same, and there's no real defining feature other than sitting, looking over, reading the tiny print on it, and pushing the button. The Ford MySync utilizing voice technology, I think really has a huge advantage. But also with this system, big buttons are always better. So if you can make nice, big, huge, simple Apple icons, I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
But when I read this story, I thought immediately of BMW because if I'm not mistaken, I believe BMW, when the iPhone 4 came out, the new update with, I think it was both iPhone 4 and iOS 4, the release, there was something that there was a designated channel or a software component that was activated or now an advanced feature that could be utilized by software manufacturers for devices like this, where it could actually stream the apps. Not
Mm,
like a air share type of thing, but it streams the actual content on the back end. And I think BMW has an interface that is not like this mock-up, but it has similar qualities that you could utilize, things like Pandora and everything. You could drive the
sure.
applications through the interface. So there is some overlap there, but I like the interface that they kind of did that mock-up. I don't know if that was going to be similar to the way it looked or it was just kind of easily recognizable as a marketing key, but yeah, I think it's great. I honestly do because you're not going to stop people from utilizing their smartphones in their car
No.
because they live on their smartphones. So you have to
Mm,
utilize it in a way that makes sense and best utilizes it safely. So, but voice is definitely the way to go.
I completely agree with you guys. And for our last story of the day, we are all geeks.
Yay!
I don't know about you guys, but I have been watching Star Trek since I could poop in my pants. Absolutely love it. And I've always dreamed of going to space. I've always dreamed of space. I owned a couple of telescopes. I knew the names of all the planets before I knew my own name. So, when I saw this video, I was like, wow, the serious possibility of one day being able to be an astronaut, to go into space as a traveler on vacation, whatever you want to call it, is a real possibility. And I know that Zeb is a humongous buff of this space. So I knew that he would really enjoy SpaceX, this company, and what NASA's trying to do right now with this whole, I guess, reusing these, what do you call them, Zeb? Reusing these space capsules, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah. So there's the big thing with SpaceX is, number one, that we have, as a country, we've kind of lost our way from doing really big things. And we stopped setting these goals, these 10, 15, 20-year goals. It's just, for whatever reason, we've I guess, accepted defeat and said we can't possibly do it anymore. So now we've kind of transitioned a little bit more to relying on the private industry to say, look, we're gonna supply some of the upfront down payment, so to speak, to get you on your way, and we expect you to bring us some really innovative technologies. So SpaceX was the brainchild of
Elon.
Elon.
Elon Musk.
He did PayPal and a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited about SpaceX as a project, as a company, and we can all basically agree that out of everybody says to me, what's one thing that government did right? Nothing government does is ever good. NASA in cooperation with private industry, what came out of the NASA program, the Apollo program and the Shuttle program, I mean, just almost every major component that drove us into the micro component, the microtechnology era, was designed and led by that entire era of technology. So, yeah, I'm a huge space person. I would go with Branson in a second, a millisecond.
That's a good choice.
With or without the girls on the plane, I really don't. I don't judge. I'm fine, but no, I really think there are some very good days ahead. Although my mother lives in South Florida, in Central Florida, I should say.
There you go.
Right by the Space Coast, and I'm trying to see how I can schedule to get down there for the last launch. It always happens. I go down and then they scrub it, and it's always out of my window.
Like Zev's here, scrub it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just scrub it.
But I'm really excited. I wish that we would focus on and I know everybody's pushing for Mars. I really wish that we should focus on the moon, set up and establish something permanent there. And
you know what, and that makes like logical sense, right? I mean, it's our closest neighbor, so to speak. We've been there once already. We all know that it's not a very friendly place to be on, but setting it something up there only makes sense, and using that as a staging area, as a launching point, as a refueling point, whatever you want to call it, whatever the technical term is. I mean, to me, it just sounds like a feasible and reasonable plan, instead of leaping over into Mars, which I understand is a better fit for us. But I really think that we're just like Zev said, we haven't been planning large goals for a very long time, but I really think going to Mars is a massive goal. And if we can just take little steps, like going to the moon first, set stuff up there, and then launch over into Mars, and and going forward from there. But who the hell am I? I mean, I know nothing. So,
but Dan, what you guys are talking about, from the time you were young, that this was something that captivated your imagination, and I think for most kids, that whole idea of the space age and being Buck Rogers, and that whole idea that it really did spark your imagination and want you to try big things. I mean, heck, Disney's entire Tomorrowland is created based on that idea.
Yep.
So why would we want to dampen that? Why not have something that makes kids really envision something bigger than the world they're living on? I mean, it's a great idea, and I even, I would, heck, I was mid-20s, I think, by the time I got around to actually getting a trip to Florida and actually getting to take a trip to see the actual place where the whole space center there, and that was fascinating to me. And I wish I had been able to do the whole space camp thing as a kid, but
Me
it was
too.
fascinating.
Yeah, I always wanted to go to space camp. It never worked out though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
who are those lucky kids?
I was a
man?
little badass kid, so I was always in trouble.
Yeah,
So,
I
it never
I
really
instead
worked out for me.
opted to watch the movie about 6,000 times.
Space Camp.
Space Camp, yes.
That was so hot. It was a great
Yes.
movie.
Which was the
Awesome.
funniest. I mean, looking back on it, I use so many lines from that movie still. It's ridiculous.
Really?
But yeah, the funniest part of the movie for me, because I was so into the space program, is how they got from Huntsville, Alabama to, drove from Huntsville, Alabama to the launch platform in Cape Canaveral, like in an
20
hour.
minutes.
Yeah, it was right around the corner from the camp. So, yeah,
It's like
whatever.
20 minutes.
It's like,
Yeah,
it doesn't really work.
do. It's Hollywood time.
Yes.
It's not real time. It's Hollywood time. But listen, I hope that this relationship between private and government companies, agencies works out, and maybe not in my lifetime, but maybe in my son's lifetime. There'll be these space travelers, traveling to the space station, traveling to the moon for vacation or something like that, or just to explore, just space, and nothing more than that. Because that would be a real treat and a real feat. And I don't think it'll happen in my time. If anything, it might be just too rich for my own blood. But it would definitely be something that I would love my son to be able to see sometime in his lifetime.
Yeah, I am.
And I really think it can't happen.
I am kind of sad to say that. I don't know if because we go down to Florida all the time, and I bring Ari to NASA. We take the tour and do all that good stuff, and I often say to myself, is he really, when he comes here, is he seeing it because it's cool, or is he seeing it because he's viewing it as a way of maybe I'm going to be an astronaut one day, and I fear
Sure.
that the latter is not the reason. And that's my biggest problem, that it's that we're relegating our responsibility as a country to do these great things, and as great as SpaceX is and other private industry parts of this, I don't think that it's really the role of exclusively private industry. I think these are such huge and massive endeavors, and that need just enormous amounts of capital. I think that it really is a responsibility of we the people, of a community, of a society, as a country, to do these great things. And if we can't inspire our children for these great things, they're not going to want to go into science and physics and math and really dedicate their lives to things that sound pretty boring but are really unbelievable and amazing things for our entire race, race of people, animals, souls, I don't know, everything, humankind.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep.
I completely agree. I do. All right, guys. I think we have a pretty good show. Some nice topics there. And thank you very much for coming on board.
Yeah,
you can catch us here every Monday at 9 p.m. EST. We weren't on for the past 2 Mondays just because of Passover and the holidays and whatnot. But we are normally here every Monday at 9 p.m. EST. You can always find us here on justin.tv/breakbumper TV. If you want to check us out at our main site, that would be breakbumper.tv, and on Twitter we are breakbumpertv. And you can go there and find out all the information about us individually. Just go to the authors page?
Yep.
Yeah, it's the authors page. And that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much, and we will see you guys next week.
have a great week.
Sounds good.
Oh.